Over the summer of 2024, the Denver Nuggets signed Jamal Murray to a 4-year, $208 million contract extension, set to kick in starting in the 2025 season. Out of all players making over $50 million per year, Jamal Murray is the only player who has not made any All-Star team, or any All-NBA team, or any All-Defensive team. In fact, the only individual accolade he has is an All-Rookie team, back in 2017. Considering he's supposedly the Nuggets' second-best player and has been proven capable as the second-best player on a championship roster, the Nuggets felt obligated to pay him this exorbitant amount of money. But was it the right choice? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and with the new wave of money being injected into the NBA, with even role players making upwards of $40 million per year, let's take a look at some of the worst valued contracts of this era.
I gave him an assist as well.
Kellin Johnson 3.
Way off.
And even if their teams needed to keep them, these decisions severely restricts their roster building capability, and could go down as the worst contracts of the modern generation. But before we start, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, SeatGeek. This NBA season is off to an amazing start, and what better way to get in on the action than watching your favorite players in person with my favorite ticket platform. It's time to start booking your tickets. SeatGeek pulls every ticket from the web into one app, with each ticket rated from a scale of 1 to 10. Green dots are good, while red dots are bad. Most importantly, every ticket you purchase is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, you know I'm not going to end a sponsorship without a deal for you guys. Use my promo code ANDYHOOPS10 for 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek. Whether you're a new customer or not, it doesn't have to be just basketball games either. You can use my code to get tickets for concerts, festivals, other sports, whatever you want. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app today and add code ANDYHOOPS10 to your account. Do it now because this is a limited time offer.
How pleased are you that you're locked in Denver for the foreseeable future? And was there any point where you were not confident that a deal would get done, or were you pretty sure about it the whole time?
Pretty confident, man. Pretty confident. I'm happy to be here.
Jamal Murray. Normally, I would say Tobias Harris or Bradley Beal is the poster boy for bad contracts. But since his deal with the Sixers expired and Beal's contract is old news, we gotta move on to someone else. Let's continue with Jamal Murray's contract. I mentioned that in terms of accolades and qualifications, he really does not compare to any other player making 50+ million, or any player that will be in the near future. In this category, you see bona fide superstars, perennial all-stars, guys who are the #1 option of their franchise. Yet, the Denver Nuggets, starting in the 2025-26 season, will pay him over $50 million to be the second option. And I'd wager 90% of his negotiations involved his past playoff performances, which definitely match up to the level of the greatest stars across the NBA. However, there are other aspects of this deal that make the average fan hesitant to say he deserves this much. For one, Murray, low-key, is super injury-prone. I'm sure you know he missed an entire season after tearing his ACL, but even before that and after that, Murray has experienced a multitude of recurring injuries, from calf problems to ankle injuries, among several other lower body issues. Murray has routinely missed 15 to 20 games every season since 2020. For a player who is described as an Iron Man early in his career, appearing in almost every single game in his first 3 years, his body is breaking down sooner than expected as he approaches his late 20s. For a long time, Jamal Murray has been praised highly for his ability to elevate in the playoffs to another level. It got to the point where there's an obvious separation between his postseason dominance versus his regular season play. One look at the stats tell the same story. Until the 2024 postseason, it was his first playoff run where he truly struggled. And you know, whether it's his calf problems, or simply a matter of small sample size, or teams finally realizing how to defend him. Perhaps a combination of all three of those things. Jamal Murray is a tough shot maker. If you witnessed his 40 or 50-point performances, you see he takes a ton of tough shots.
Schroeder. Murray leans in, double clutching, got it!
shots that most teams would consider as, bad shots. But he makes them, so it's okay. Still, it has folks wondering, is his playstyle even sustainable for the long haul? It's been a trend for most of his career that he thrives under the bright lights. Along with that, he carried an egotistical personality and arrogance about him that makes other fan bases resent him, and claiming his success is due to playing with a 3-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. The 2024 postseason was the first time where he looked, normal. He came back down to earth and then fell below it. He had some of the worst series of his career. Combined with his injury history and lack of individual accolades, the Denver Nuggets still felt confident enough to make him the 16th highest paid player in the entire league. Have you guys seen what the Nuggets offense looks like when Murray is running it? It's horrible.
Williams playing with 2 fouls. Murray going at him, 5 to shoot, turnaround, no.
In 2 seasons, from 2022 to 2024, Murray played over 1,000 minutes without Jokic on the court, and the Nuggets had a net rating of negative 10.27. And it's a substantial sample size as well, so these numbers are relevant. He has shown zero capability of leading an offense by himself, without his superstar teammate by his side. Most importantly, however, this contract severely limits the Nuggets' ability to shake up their roster. The Kroenke family, who owns the Denver Nuggets, have basically hinted that they're not going above the second apron luxury tax threshold. So, with a contract as massive as Murray's, the side effect was losing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And in the future, they'll be unable to re-sign even more of their guys, thus putting a hard limit on their roster flexibility. At the end of the day, Murray is a second option, making first option money. With yet another slow start to the season, I'm seriously wondering if he's worth this much. Kellin Johnson. If you're not a fan of the San Antonio Spurs, the only thing that matters to you is, how is Victor Wembanyama doing? Let's be real, most fans don't care about anyone else on the team. But for me, as someone who lives in Texas and the Spurs are the closest team to me, I've been paying attention to them much more these days. During their rebuilding years since 2019, they've accumulated several young players who look like they have potential to maybe be a core piece of the franchise. It's hard to tell. Young players like Devin Vassell and Kellin Johnson have proven they can score over 20 points a game, but is it meaningful when they do it on a losing team and get all the shots they want? For Kellin Johnson, who led the Spurs in scoring before Wemby got there, the general feeling is that he's not a priority for this team anymore. Back in 23, Kellin Johnson signed a $20 million per year contract until 2027. Yet he's not even a starter anymore. In fact, the Spurs feel more comfortable starting a washed-up Harrison Barnes instead of the young, growing Kellin Johnson. One would think a team like the Spurs, who's rebuilding, would prefer developing their youth instead of giving more minutes to an aging Harrison Barnes, of all people. This was a decision that Johnson is not okay with, even stating he was, quote, uncomfortable with being benched. However, the Spurs don't bench somebody for no reason. Even in the 2023-24 season, Kellin Johnson got benched halfway through the year due to several reasons. According to Pop, he wanted to give a boost of energy to the second unit and give more opportunity for Wemby, Vassell, and Sohan to run the offense. He envisions Johnson in the sixth man role, similar to that of Manu Ginobili. Spurs assistant coach Mitch Johnson even mentioned, quote, he could be extremely aggressive and be a focal point, still play a ton of minutes, still score plenty of points, and finish games and help balance our lineups. Except as Keldon came off the bench more and more, they realized that he doesn't have the instincts to run the offense. He's a score-first player, and he struggles to create a play for anybody but himself. Because his minutes are getting lower and lower each year, he feels like when he's on the court, he has to take shots. He's not even looking to pass anymore. Above all else, it's his lack of defensive effort that really bothered the Spurs coaching staff. A few years ago, when Kellin Johnson had the best year of his life, he also allowed opponents to shoot 52.4% from the field. That would be the fourth worst out of all players who defended at least 700 shots that season. He was without question the worst defender on the team, and since then, His effort has been shaky at best. Nowadays, he's kinda tunnel visioned into trying to score as much as possible, because he doesn't get as many touches as he used to.
Telling it to back. Oh, going for a poster. Lost it.
The Spurs are essentially paying $20 million a year to a young player whose minutes have been decreasing year after year. And following his benching, he's been the #1 guy in trade rumors. When it's time for the rest of the young Spurs with more potential to get paid, oh, you best believe that Kellin Johnson will be the first to go to make room for them. Andrewnard. Nembhard is the perfect example of a player who capitalized off of a single playoff series. Remember back in the Eastern Conference Finals? Tyrese Halliburton went down with an injury, and Andrewnard was slotted in as the starting point guard. For 2 games, he absolutely dominated the Celtics.
2 quick fouls. Nembhard on the bounce, goes to the lane and puts it up and in. Back to Nembhard. Nembhard, a little Euro step off the glass, banks it from McConnell. Kicks it out. Nembhard hoists up the 3. It's coming.
It's like he took over Halliburton's role and replicated exactly what he does. In fact, Nembhard's entire 2024 playoff run was a breakout performance. He elevated his game to a level that nobody thought he could reach. Before that, he was basically completely unknown. But right after this playoff run, the Pacers signed him to a 3-year, $60 million extension. The initial reaction was, oh damn, Nembhard totally deserved that after such an incredible effort against the Celtics. Kudos to him for getting paid. Unfortunately, it was an impulsive decision by the Pacers front office. As great as his story was, paying $20 million a year to a guy who's a solid defender, but every other aspect of his game is severely lacking. Nembhard only averaged like 9 points a game in his short career, and he's barely a fringe starter. Right after signing the deal, he had the worst start to the season he's ever had. And it's even worse because this contract bottlenecks the Pacers' future. Miles Turner will be a free agent in the 2025 offseason, and you best believe he'll demand a lot. At least $35 to $40 million per year, which will push the Pacers past the second apron. I highly doubt a small market team like them want to be that deep into the luxury tax, considering only 4 or 5 teams are past the second apron. Then the summer after that, it'll be Benedict Mathurin's turn to get paid. All of these players are way more important than Andrew Nembhard, yet this single contract severely crippled the Pacers in re-signing their main guys in the near future. Oh, and they're still paying Halliburton and Siakam a combined $95 million per year. In fact, Nembhard is likely the 6th or 7th most important player on the team, and that's not worth $20 million per year. Also, the Pacers are already deep on the perimeter. They got like 9 guards on the roster. Surely one of them can develop into a similar player to Nembhard, but without the price tag. Kawhi Leonard. Yet again, Kawhi Leonard has secured a massive payday. This time for 3 years, $150 million. $50 million per year for a player who has been injured for 3 straight playoffs, and with a diagnosed degenerative knee condition that will slowly break down his body as the year progresses. The 2023-24 season seemed like it was Kawhi's comeback year. He played 68 games, the most he's played since 2017. He even looked more athletic and more explosive in years, and even drew some MVP noise early on. But this was all a mirage. The truth is, Kawhi's knees are a ticking time bomb. It was only a matter of time until we see it happen again. By the time the playoffs were approaching, he mysteriously sat out for the final 8 regular season games. Fans were still optimistic that he could recover and still come back. It was his most healthy season in a long time, after all, right? Prior to Game 1 of the playoffs, he even got an injection into his knee, and surprise, he did. He returned back to the court, except it looked like he belonged in a retirement home. Dude was laboring up and down the court, barely even moving or putting pressure on his legs. Yet again, it was the same exact story. And when his contract expired, I think most Clippers fans expected to move on to a new era and rebuild from scratch. But nope. $50 million per year for Kawhi Leonard, who couldn't even recover in time before the new season. That's another 7 months of nobody knowing what's wrong with him or how his rehab is going. Ultimately, he got what he wanted. He showed he was healthy enough to play 68 games, enough to trick the Clippers organization to give him another massive payday. But hey, I'm sure Steve Ballmer can afford it. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were some of the newest, worst contracts in recent years, besides the ones we already know about, like Bradley Beal or the old Tobias Harris. What other players do you believe are severely overpaid compared to their production? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.